This is Eivor of the Raven Clan, and you're listening to Raw Dogs.
No, it moved.
Broken Bat used to be in the Third Ward. It still is, but their old spot, now it's Wizard Works.
Well, Broken Bat's over by, it's over on Pittsburgh, right? So,
hey, everybody, and welcome to Raw Dogs, your favorite podcast about Hadoukens and Shoryukens and fuck Ted Nugents.
Fuck Ted Nugents.
That's what I always heard as a kid, and I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
Street Fighter.
He's not a good man.
No. Things have been revealed about many people in the past couple years.
Yeah, it's great. No, hey, that's a lesson for everyone. Don't have heroes.
And
I've been revealed to be a stand-up guy.
Speaking of heroes, who's sitting across from me?
Living La Vida Dylan, drinking margarita hard seltzers from Topo Chico.
Ay caramba.
Topo Chico. Ay caramba. That's the new. How did you know?
And who else do we have here?
My name is Tyler, and I'm not hungover today.
That's because yesterday.
Yeah, which is rare for a Sunday.
Did you just drink water yesterday?
I took it pretty easy. I had a couple beers after my shift last night, but I'm here in the flesh, and I feel great.
Good.
I'm feeling fresh today, and big shout-outs to both of the dog fathers yesterday.
Nice.
Josh ran a great Mario Kart tournament, and Tom had a birthday and a big spoon show, and they were both fantastic. The dog fathers were not worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are pale imitations. My name is Brad, and today we're talking about Street Fighter. Street Fighter is a pretty big deal, actually. I was surprised.
Really?
Well, the numbers for Street Fighter 2, I was blown away by those sales numbers. But
just think about the cabinets alone.
The cabinets alone. This was a request from Ryan to do the Street Fighter stuff. So thanks to Ryan.
Honestly, it's worth doing. We did Mortal Kombat.
And this was giving me flashbacks to Mortal Kombat like the whole time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because
that's an early episode for us. Which one is that?
It's like 20.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, that's a long while ago.
We did the Mortal Kombat timeline.
Oh, it's right there, the second row.
Third row.
It's one of those things where there's way too much lore for some of these games.
There's two parts.
Street Fighter, I mean, pretty much it boils down to your parents were killed by M. Bison and you're out for revenge, or you want to prove your fighting style. That's 90% of what these characters are up to.
Well, that's also the crazy part about it as well. There isn't much of a story mode in most of these in the traditional sense, where Mortal Kombat did kind of lean into it at a certain point.
Yeah, Street Fighter 5, they did add a story mode too.
I played it.
Because there was a lot of upset people. We are a podcast that drinks the real live beer, and we have some more of the selections from Joint Fest from Eagle Park. This is a collaboration with Lion's Tail Brewing. This is a cold IPA with a whole bunch of hops brewed with lemon peel and white grape. A little stoned turtle on the can.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. As long as that turtle is old enough and in states that allow it.
Lion's Tail is a place I deliver to for my job.
It is.
And they've got a really nice little facility over in Wauwatosa. I've actually been there a couple times. They give me the good treatment. And I love it there.
Yeah, I was just there last week.
That's a nice IPA. I haven't been to Lion's Tail yet.
It's close enough to my house. If I was feeling real ballsy, I could walk.
That's different than most IPAs.
Yeah, if Josh was here, he'd say, "Well, cold brewed IPAs are like this, Brad."
I
don't know much about them though.
I actually know. A cold brewed IPA is cold crashed like a lager. That's why it's a cold.
Wow.
I learned that.
Look at this guy working at a brewery.
I learned it from a brewer on Friday.
Nice. Was it from our homie?
Yeah, it was from Justin.
Okay.
Kindle Brewing.
Kindle.
Yeah.
Kendall.
Kindle Brewing is his company.
How many Street Fighters have y'all played, both before the past couple weeks and after?
I mean, what do you consider different versions of Street Fighter?
I want your thoughts. I want your feelings about this franchise before we dive in.
You know, I'll tell you this. I've always been more of a Night Stalkers, vampire savior guy.
Okay.
I like Night Stalkers more. It's just because it's Universal movie monsters and they're fighting each other. I played a lot of Street Fighter whenever it was around. I remember the first time I was playing it was at a neighbor's house, and I was probably 4, and it was on the Super Nintendo. So it would have been Street Fighter 2.
One of the 25 versions of Street Fighter 2.
One of the 25 versions of Street Fighter 2, and I couldn't tell you which one, but I just remember being very bad at it.
Well, when I started playing chronologically and I got to Street Fighter 1, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter apostrophe? A Street Fighter.
It's called Street Fighter Dash.
Yeah, and then they have a bunch of different names. But I don't play a lot of Street Fighter. I was always more into Tekken and Mortal Kombat. And in the last week and a half, I've played everyone that's on this 30th anniversary collection.
Yeah, I would say, the easy comparison is Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. They both kind of rose to prominence. At the same time, I think Street Fighter is a much more technical game. Mm-hmm. Mortal Kombat's flashy, and they got more blood, and that's like, oh, it's cool.
The combos are a lot easier in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Street Fighter is a technical marvel.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you guys said that, because I found this game to be kind of tough. I don't play fighting games very often.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, you can crank down the difficulty in the menu. I put them, when I was playing through these, I put them down to very easy because I'm like, I don't have time for this.
Well, in playing Guilty Gear Strive the past couple months, I've actually honed this ability to kind of know what everyone's combo is. No matter who the character is, I can figure out what inputs to do, down curve, and then forward, and then a button press. I can figure it all out now, but I found myself on normal difficulty still, especially with Street Fighter 2, just being this can get rough.
Yeah. Street Fighter 2 was my entry into the series as well. I think we must have owned Turbo Edition, or Dash as they call it, in Japan.
I call it Turbo.
It's Turbo.
Just call it that.
I was a young child. I don't know my age, but I remember just thinking it was the coolest thing. I thought all the characters were great. Mm-hmm. I gravitated towards the characters where you could just hit buttons to do a special move instead of any joystick stuff. So Blanca, Chun-Li, E Honda, you just tap kick or you tap punch and you will do a special move. And I was like, that's all I need. I'll just be Blanca in the corner and I'll just be freaking out.
I do like Blanca. But as a child, it's the most aesthetically pleasing character.
Yeah. This little electric green man, who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Some strange mutated Brazilian.
Yeah. Brazilians were pretty much begging, we need something to represent our country that's not Blanca, please.
Yeah.
And then they got Sean Matsuda, and it was this is worse somehow.
Yeah.
But yes, Street Fighter. Street Fighter was created and developed by Takashi Nishiyama. The first game he designed was in 1982 called Moon Patrol. He designed shortly afterwards Kung Fu Master.
Oh.
Kung Fu Master came out in 1984. It's considered one of the first beat-em-ups. There will be a nerd who is cleaning his glasses saying, actually, it's this boxing game.
Yeah, whatever.
We don't fucking care. Okay. write us in on an email. We'll read it. It'd be fun,
won't.
actually.
I won't.
I like angry emails. We don't get them enough.
Should I say more controversial stuff?
Yeah, we can turn up the meter.
I could turn it up. I keep it pretty down.
We did a Batman versus Spider-Man episode, and somebody like live fact checked everything we got wrong.
And he was also wrong, by the way.
It was great.
I didn't want to like nerd out on him, but I'm not the one without a life, so you know.
Dude, you just owned him.
I did.
Well, during development of Kung Fu Master, Capcom's founder Kenzo Sugimoto invited Nishiyama to join them after leaving Irem, which was the company he was working for, and also created a game called Trojan in 1986, which had included a one-on-one fighting mode. So you can see a little bit of the trajectory there.
This dude loves fighting modes.
He just loves brawling.
Yeah.
Yeah, rough kid. He wanted to create a game solely based on the boss battles in Kung Fu Master because, you know, it was just one-person boss battles. That's kind of what was going on. And Street Fighter was also co-designed with Hiroshi Matsumoto, who would later create the Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting series with Nishiyama. It's amazing how the pedigree, like some of them just made like, you know, Street Fighter, and then they made 10 other fighting franchises. That's just the way it worked, I guess. They were like, oh, well, they did it once. We'll just give them more money. And successfully, there's a lot of...
Fatal Fury's fun.
There's a lot of fighting games. Mm-hmm. But Keiji Inafune also got his start with, Mega Man Keiji Inafune. He got his start with Street Fighter. He designed and illustrated the character portraits in the first game. It's also hard to know specifically who did what on the first game because they did that like Castlevania thing where they all had fake names.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that in the Castlevania episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. They didn't even want to like represent their work.
Well, and partially studios didn't want them getting poached because if it said this person, they'd just look up Keiji Inafune and they're like, we want you.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. Also, those people should probably get credit for their work.
Yeah.
I imagine so, yeah.
I imagine so. Well, the first Street Fighter was released August 30th, 1987 in Japan, later on a lot of consoles. First fighting game released by Capcom. Some important introductions, things that were introduced in this game. Special attacks. Mm-hmm. Potentially the first fighting game that has special moves like
Potentially.
this.
I don't know that for sure, but that seems to be what I looked up.
And it was 3 moves. You could only play as Ryu or Ken. Mm-hmm. But really only Ryu. And then there was a second player that could join in and challenge you. And then if you were Ken and beat Ryu, then you'd get to play as Ken. But it was just a palette swap. So you could do the Hadouken, the Shoryuken, and the Atatsunuken, or whatever the fuck it is.
That was actually pretty good.
If you just mumble enough, no one will know. This is the only game where world domination isn't core to the plot. Afterwards, we're going down some fascist roads.
Yeah.
Going down some fascist roads.
We're going to get some totalitarianism in here.
I'm going to take my horse to the fascist road. Fight till I can't no more.
You know that would be a popular song. Gameplay, one-on-one matches against a series of computer-controlled opponents. You have 30 seconds to defeat your opponent. If time remains, the fighter with more health is declared the winner. And like I mentioned, the single-player mode controls for this. 8 directional joystick, jump, crouch, defend. 6 attack buttons, which was considered controversial by some of the creators. They're like, this is way too much thought and difficulty going there. Like 3 different punches and 3 different kicks.
Yeah.
But light, medium, strong. And they kind of like, no, this is good. Trust me. Mm-hmm. The kids can handle it. And so that was one of the arcade cabinets. There was a different one that was released where they had 2 big pads.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the game, but the collector's edition has all that behind the scenes shit.
Yeah.
I did see it in a YouTube video.
Yeah.
I did a little research.
Pressure sensitive little pad, big buttons, and if you hit it light, it was a light punch. If you smacked the fuck out of it,
it was a hard punch.
It was a hard punch.
You don't want to encourage people to do that.
Turns out people were hurting their hands and the machines were getting broken.
Yep.
Well, the reasoning was, what did they say? Because they wanted the game to be physically exhausting, like an actual fight.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it. If I punch the button hard, sure, I punch harder, but that does not sound like a game I could play for 10 minutes.
Well, there's also got to be like a pretty low threshold for how much hard actually is hard. It's like,
But
in
you think
Pokemon,
kids are going to know that?
I know it's like in Pokemon when you think you keep pressing A, you're going to catch the Pokemon.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Yeah.
I'm going to say right now that if they came out with the cabinet with the pressurized buttons, I got 1 speed and it's 100% power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No one's doing little light punches, little tippy taps on that thing.
No.
No. I'm breaking my hand. Yes, like I mentioned, fighters, Ryu and Ken. Ryu is the guy for this series. He's the cover boy. He is
The representative of Japan.
And there's a thing about fighting games. You need like the standard, like this is the main character.
Stock hero. It's your Mario.
And it's how they relate to all the other characters that kind of informs them.
Yep.
And I think everybody knows how to make a Hadouken. You never even have to play Street Fighter, and you've seen like that like illustrated down to right punch. That's when I was playing through these games. Ryu is my first stop every time.
Yeah.
just because I know how to play as him.
It's the base. It's like he's the easiest to control. He's the easiest to understand. His attacks are like just strong punches, uppercuts, and like it's all about forward momentum no matter what. There aren't any like tricks really about him, but the way you use him can kind of be modified.
And that jumping uppercut is pretty cool.
So you can.
Ken is the other character. They have the same sensei. They have the same fucking moves. They are a palette swap. Classic. They didn't go like Mortal Kombat and have 20 ninjas that all fight like Ryu, but
Well, Ken in the later games, he's a little bit faster,
a little more
less
nuanced.
powerful.
Yeah.
He's less powerful though.
And then they eventually get Akuma, which is the more powerful. They'll get Gauken. I'd say Goken.
Kaioken.
Goku.
There you go.
There are we got 10 opponents that you have to fight through in this game. We are going to do a lore episode that will be horrible, and I can't wait. If you guys want to learn about over 100 Street Fighter characters' histories, we're going to do it, and I can't promise anything will be great.
It's going to be one where we're going to have to, because I remember the Mortal Kombat one. I just remember at a certain point going, "Yep, okay, cool."
I made a visual aid.
You made a visual aid.
You got a PowerPoint?
There are
You made us a vision board.
I got pictures for the characters as we talk about them, so you can see their designs. It'll really help when we're talking about 100 characters to see what they look like.
I mean, I watched a few lore videos today, so
My apologies.
it's fine.
I didn't watch any lore videos, so I'm going in blind.
Well, that'll probably be another day unless we want to really get into it.
No, we don't need to right now.
A lot of these characters don't return. It is the introduction of some characters like Lee, Jen. Would you say Gen is Jen or Gen? Jen?
Jen, yeah.
Jen.
No, Gen, sorry.
Birdie, Eagle, Adon, and Sagat. Sagat's our first boss.
We love Sagat.
Sagat's a cool guy. I don't like it when people say Sagat. It doesn't feel right.
Well, it's
to
like
me.
Mario and Mario.
Yeah,
It's people say Ryu.
that bothers me too.
Ryu bothers me because it's literally like a name
You
that
know,
you can look up.
I was surprised that I always said Zangief, and it's Zangief.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got that wrong.
Yeah, the story mode they call him Zangief a few times, and I was like, well, I was wrong.
You got put in your place. Well,
I
mean,
was
they're
wrong
just-
for 30 years.
But it's like when you go to a Mexican restaurant and you're like, tortilla. Tortilla.
Can I get the tortilla?
The maize tortilla.
Gracias.
Well, we all know my track record with trying to say names anyway.
Oh, that's fine.
This is a nightmare.
There are a lot of cultural names in here. And
Yeah.
that's also one of the cool things about the game is that it represents so much from throughout the world.
Yeah, I just said it phonetically
Yeah,
That's fine.
as best I could.
I mean, we'll correct as we go.
And yeah, that is one of the strengths of the game is you're traveling the world. there's culture kind of woven around these characters. You go to Japan, the U.S., China, England, and Thailand in the first game. Mm-hmm. They definitely branch out later, but at least with Street Fighter 2, that was so exciting when you just like you get on a plane and you go USSR, and then Zangief beats you and he starts doing a Cossack dance, and I was like, this is insane.
Yeah,
it was cool seeing different cultures represented and seeing like it's a world tournament, and that felt pretty cool.
Well, especially when you're a kid, you don't think about these other countries. This might be your first introduction to the idea of what a country outside of the U.S. actually is, because I don't know many kids who would be able to point to certain countries on a map.
I'd be like, I think Balto might have happened in Russia. I don't know. But it is true. That's probably the first time I saw an interactive world map with like planes moving around.
And then I'm like, whoa, there are different people.
Wow, everyone in Brazil is green? Do they all have electric power? This is crazy.
Something in the water down there.
And I do.
What isn't in the water?
I do love E Honda character designs that mostly only exist in anime, where it's like you can simultaneously be very fat but also the most muscular dude in the world.
Yeah,
like, muscle fat.
He always reminded me of that dude that Hulk Hogan came out and beat at WrestleMania 5.
Is that not Yokozuna?
Yeah, after he beat Bret Hart, and then Hulk Hogan comes out and pins him in like 5 seconds and ruins the whole thing.
Was that WrestleMania 5?
No, maybe 8.
It
was a single digit one. It was the outdoors one.
I am going to be honest. I don't know a lot about the history of WrestleMania.
I don't know anything.
I've seen some.
Up through the Attitude Era, I'm pretty good.
Pretty good. Well, after Street Fighter 1, Nishiyama and... Akira Nishitani. Bear with me here, folks.
That's good. That was correct.
And Akira Yasuda sought to create a sequel to Street Fighter 1. They wound up making Final Fight instead. They made, that side-scroller brawler Final Fight.
It's a good game.
It was almost named Street Fighter 1989. Which...
Why?
It's in the same universe. I don't know why they would have wanted to put a year on it to, just call it something else, which they did.
Yeah, I don't know. Their naming conventions are awful in Japan. It's pretty bad.
Well, they have one that's just Street Fighter apostrophe, and that's good enough for them.
Yeah. Well,
and they call it Dash. I'm like, no, not a Dash.
And there's Turbo and Champion or something.
You'll know the differences between all of them. Speaking of Street Fighter II, The World Warrior, this was released February 6th, 1991, February 15th in the USA for the arcade, and it came to Super Nintendo, and subsequently fucking everything.
Yeah.
Heavy focus on versus gameplay. The development took a couple years with 35 to 40 people, budget of about $4.87 million. Akira Yasuda was a character designer, and he has become... legendary in the Street Fighter world. Mm-hmm. His approach to designing characters, I find refreshing. He was given some grief. They're like, you're making stereotypes. You have this Russian dude who just Cossack dances and he just wrestles bears, and they're all leaning into stereotypes but not being offensive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He says, maybe I'm a weird Japanese person, but I want to make something stereotyped, something exaggerated. To be perfectly honest, I think it's okay if they're discriminatory, not in an offensive way, but in a way that's easy to understand and fun.
Yeah. I mean, how are you supposed to represent an entire country's, if these are representatives of this country, you're not going to just make them all well, I'm this version of Mr. Joe Go to Job wearing a suit and a tie.
Go to Job.
And I works in an office, and it's just the only thing that's different is my skin color. It's just how else do you illustrate these different cultures? And how do you actually be sensitive to that without, especially back then,
Yeah, like
I just find that to be like impossible because even look at like Punch Out, like Soda Popinski.
love it. Vodka Draginski. Is that what his original name was?
Yeah, it was something.
Yeah, they're like, this is offensive even for us.
Yeah,
But-
I'm like, yeah.
They love vodka. I'm sure every Russian that saw that's like, we love vodka. He's hero. He's national hero.
He's not
They
wrong.
do drink a lot of vodka though. It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you want yourself represented by Zangief?
Zangief is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he's
Like,
burly.
too.
He fights bears. He whoops your ass, and I mean, it's not bad. Plus, I think the art style, it being kind of anime, cartoony, like kind of softens the blow. You know,
I mean,
it's not meant to be taken literally.
I'm not insulted by Ken Masters or Guile.
I like Guile. Just a very like typical soldier. Got his muscles out. The dumbest haircut I've ever seen, though.
It's supposed to be an exaggerated crew cut. Did you know that?
Well, it's exaggerated.
It's just it's a flat top that just extends up, and it's just like a design choice. But it's interesting because it was just like otherwise he would just look like a Marine, so they just pushed it up a
and
little bit.
it gets more extreme too as the other games go on.
Yeah, but it's like
in
mushrooms out.
It's like in a scary movie where the hat just gets bigger every time you look. Like,
Yep.
Kyle, what are you doing?
Yep. I love it.
Yeah, so Nishitani, when they were getting ready to make Street Fighter 2, they went to American arcades just to see what was happening. And they saw two kids playing Street Fighter 1 just taking turns playing the 1v1. Mm-hmm. And versus modes were not a thing in arcades. This was not popular, and it took a while in Japan for it to even become a thing because challenging someone and putting yourself out there is not intuitive to the culture.
No. Well, think about how long it took for JRPGs to stick, or not JRPGs, RPGs to stick there. Look, we call it like ubiquitous now. It's JRPG to us, but those standard role-playing games, which have kind of been taken over by the Japanese, like we were talking about it in the Tetris episode.
Yeah, it took a non-Japanese person to come in and actually go into like a room and like name it Dylan, name this character Dylan, and then you're like, I like Dylan.
Yes.
I'm fond of him.
Yeah.
Can he date any women in this game?
He could.
The best part of JRPGs. Yeah, so he just saw these kids that were just playing 1v1, and that's when something kind of clicked, and they're like, we should make this a versus game. And there was an American salesman, Jeff Walker. He says, please take these 6 buttons out and just have it be a punch and a kick. And he's like, the kids are too dumb to get this. And producer Okamoto said, hey, fuck you. He can handle it.
Too bad.
Too bad. Fun fact, Chun-Li is the first playable female character in any fighting game.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. And some of the unique gameplay, they added bonus stages in this game. Who doesn't remember breaking the car?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Always fun.
Which is cool because it kind of is a test of your ability beyond just like standard like punching and kicking, because you can spam in fighting games pretty easy.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're doing like those like truck beatdowns, you have to actually know how to string combos together and what actually works and like cancel stuff out. It's kind of a really cool like test of your abilities.
Yeah.
It's not like simplistic.
Bonus games are fun.
Yeah. I like them.
They added grabbing and throwing, and they accidentally created the combo system for fighting games. The first fighting game with combos, and it was an accident. The concept of combos, linked attacks that cannot be blocked when they're timed correctly, came about by accident. They didn't mean for it to happen, but players of the original game eventually found that certain moves flowed into other ones that eventually became unblockable. And canceling an attack by performing another move during the first move's animation allowed for combinations of normal and special moves, accidentally creating the combo system we know today. They were eventually adapted as a standard feature and just became integral to fighting games. Now, I'm not super well versed in the competitive scene. The Street Fighter competitive scene is fucking intense, though.
It's big.
Yeah, it's a multi-million-dollar ordeal.
I didn't realize how skilled people can be at this game because there's definitely tiers to it.
Yeah.
Like there's me, the bottom.
No, I'd say you're above non-gamers.
Oh well, yeah.
So you're near the bottom.
You're
Yeah.
not just tapping one
I'm not. Yeah,
button.
I'm not spamming. I can do some combos. So maybe like slightly above entry level.
Yeah.
But there are people that like could do this blindfolded.
And it's almost kind of like rock, paper, scissors, but you have to anticipate the enemy's moves. I don't play fighting games like that. I just go forward and just keep attacking.
Yeah.
It mostly comes down to like hitboxes and how you can maneuver yourself around so that your attack and your special extended hitbox can hit their regular hitbox while not getting their attack hitbox. It's pretty interesting.
And yeah, I've just never been a big fighting game person. It
Neither
was
have I.
it was
I
fun
tried.
back in the day, but as far as competitive, I used to play Smash with friends pretty seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would get a lot of people together, and it was intense. But Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter were just something fun with the boys back in the day.
Yeah. Once I played Fight Night, that was my fighting game of choice.
That's a boxing game, right?
But it's still technically fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally fighting.
I thought you were going to say like Def Jam.
Oh, that's got a special place in my heart.
We mentioned a lot of the big names. Pretty much every character from Street Fighter 2, they did try to go away from these characters briefly, and then they realized, oh no, every single one of these characters needs to be referenced every time because they are easy cash cows. We mentioned Ryu, Ken, E Honda, Blanca, Guile, Chun-Li, Zangief, and also we need to mention Dalsum,
Dalsum rules.
fire-breathing yoga master. He is a pacifist, though, so important
And
to
what
know.
are you doing here, man?
He needs to raise money to lift his people out of poverty
That's a good
by
reason.
beating the shit out of Russian dudes.
Yep. It's cool.
And he can stretch, which is fun. Can you imagine being such a good yoga master you can stretch your
Arms like all the way out, like 10 feet.
I thought it was cheap, but Dalsum is actually he's a more nuanced character. You have to be like
He's easy to counter.
He's
if you know
weird.
what you're doing.
yeah, he's not fast, and you have to like have a different mindset when you're playing as him. But I used to just think that it was a big advantage to stretch.
As an M. Bison player, there are such easy counters to Dalsim.
My brother played as him and would just spam
Yeah,
the
yep.
stretch attack, and we were kids, and I couldn't. I was like, you broke the game because he would beat me, and then I'd get mad, and then I'd punch him in real life, and then my mom would get pissed at me.
Were we talking about Justin, your other brother?
Brett,
Okay.
the other one. Justin was too young.
Yeah, well, you could take it out on him easily then.
Yeah, that would have been a fair fight, though. That would have been not fair.
You sure?
Yeah, he would have been tiny little baby.
I mean, you get him early.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Know your place.
there was only
Place, baby.
You're gonna sit there in your swing like an asshole.
You slap him.
This is my nookie now. I'm putting it in the garbage. Suck a
You
dick.
just suck on it. You're like,
punching
So
him and
good.
yelling Hadouken.
Here, have this new nookie. I dipped it in hot sauce.
oh, did you want to eat? Sorry. I hate all the baby food. And baby food's just dribbling down your face. Peas and carrots, so good.
Guess what? I didn't even like it.
Street Fighter 2, the original version, had 8 playable characters. The 4 boss characters were not playable in the OG.
That's true.
Balrog, the American boxer, works for the Shadaloo. Just saying it out loud for the
Yeah.
first time makes me feel stupid. Because I've written Shadaloo down 100 times, and it sounds even dumber when you say it out loud. That's M. Bison's
Paramilitary organization.
terrorist group.
Yeah.
There's Vega, the Spanish bullfighter. His goal is to eliminate ugly people from the world.
A noble cause.
He is beautiful under that mask.
There is a... when
Also-
we get to the lower episode, you'll understand a little bit why he hates ugly people.
I understand. But
Dylan just knows.
I actually do know a bit about it. But he shouldn't even count as like a fighter in this tournament. He just has claws. Like actual katars.
And
Yeah.
they're tough, though. On the Discord, a lot of people were saying Vega was like...
Vega's harder than Bison by a long shot.
Unless you can knock his claw off,
It's true.
which is helpful. And on his stage, he has that unique thing that he can like interact with the background of his stage. We have Sagat, the Muay Thai kickboxer. and M. Bison, the leader of the Shadaloo. So, fun fact that you'll hear anyone who talk about Street Fighter, that Vega, Balrog, and M. Bison are not their original names.
Nope.
M. Bison was originally Balrog, and it was because Mike Tyson. Vega was Balrog, and Balrog was Vega?
Balrog was...
Balrog was M. Bison, M.
Balrog
Bison was
M-
Vega, and Vega was Balrog.
Yes.
Yep. And so that's why M. Bison is named M. Bison, because it was a character kind of modeled of boxer Mike Tyson. And they're like, they're going to get sued. We can't do that.
Yeah, so they just switched them around.
And for a while in Japan, they kept those names, the originals for them. So,
Yeah.
M. Bison was actually... Fuck. I'm not so bad at remembering this order.
M. Bison actually... Well, yeah, no, I don't remember any of this. It's almost...
Bison was Balrog. Yeah, fuck it. It's stupid.
I am thoroughly confused.
I'm more confused the more I talk.
Yeah.
Because Balrog is just this buff black boxer from America.
Yeah.
And they calling him M. Bison here would have been a huge, no, because you could get sued.
Can you close that? We have the windows open because it's beautiful.
I love the chirping birds. I thought that'd sound good on the podcast. but-
Yeah. It's the barking dogs. 35 minutes.
Are we still hearing a bit? Hold on.
I think someone put the dog down.
Good.
Let's talk about some revisions for Street Fighter 2. How many different versions of Street Fighter 2 do you guys think there are?
9.
I don't know yet, but I have it written down. It might be 9.
8.
I think 8 might be closer. So the first one, we have Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. April 1992, James Goddard, a Capcom employee who oversaw the hardcore gamers section of Capcom, started pushing for a new version of the game that would add the 4 bosses as characters. So Championship Edition has those those characters now playable, and mirror matches were added as well. So if you were a Bison player, I guess if you were Chun-Li and your friend was Chun-Li, you could fight against each other as those characters. There was an unofficial ROM hack that a shitload of cabinets were actually created called Street Fighter 2 Rainbow Edition. Unlicensed. It is worthy of mentioning, though. It added...
Ooh, careful. We don't want a bunch of mega people shooting them.
Blowing up arcade cabinets now.
Yeah.
This is... Yeah, it is offensive. And I demand a recount.
I'm going to put it out there. I love Bud Light.
I almost want to drink Bud Light now to offend people.
Yeah.
Bud Light's got me wanting to drink Bud Light, so...
Bud Light's my first beer I ever had.
I saw people drinking Bud Light in a kind of walk, so I think it's already blowing over.
Yeah, I don't think anyone fucking gives a shit. They're saying their stock is 20% down. I'm like, who do you think you are?
I know, that's because people are drinking Busch Light instead, and they're owned by the same company.
I know, it's so good.
There's numbers that are 20% up, trust me. But this was an unofficial ROM hack that new moves, but more importantly, sped up the game 30%. Unlicensed, fucking mass produced. This was in a lot of places.
It was sped up 30%.
That's a big jump.
And Goddard played this version, and he's like, I don't get this. And then he went back and played the original, and he's like, it was so slow, it was almost unplayable.
Yeah.
And so that's when they decided, we're going to make Turbo Edition. Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting came out December 1992. Later that year.
That's the best version, though.
And increased the speed of the game, and most characters received some more special moves. They kind of rebalanced some things. Mm-hmm. And some new color palettes as well. October 1993, almost a year later, they did Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers. A new scoring system. They added reversals, which allows a quick recovery into an attack after landing on the ground or blocking. So I like stuff like that.
Reversals are good.
Yep. Keeps you more engaged and gives you an opportunity to...
Then it doesn't let people really put the beat down on you. It actually balances the game quite a bit.
It's defense that my mind can understand.
Yeah.
I can utilize that in the game pretty fluently. Mm-hmm. It just naturally my brain will comprehend that. But trying to attack somebody at a certain point in an animation to cancel the attack, my brain turns to mush.
You might actually, because you say you're a Tekken guy. There are cancels in Tekken I bet you know kind of instinctually.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, playing against my uncle who was much, much, much better than me.
Right.
Yeah. But I guess it's just my lack of time with Street Fighter. But it's my overall lack of time with fighting games in general.
It's the craziest thing. The older I get, the more I really want to devote myself to one of these games. It might actually be 6, depending on what the reviews are going to be. But I played 5 thinking I was going to get like a board, like a full stick setup, really nice board.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up doing it, but I saw the appeal for one golden moment. I was like, I actually got good with characters and I knew what I was doing. I did online matches where I wasn't losing 9 in a row.
That's
I was
such a good feeling.
Like I was actually winning like maybe 5 out of 9, which felt awesome.
And you get the competitive rush once you start to understand the game on a bigger level.
Yeah.
I had a moment of clarity too when I was playing through this where I was looking at special moves and I was like, a joystick would be way easier to pull off all of these like you have to do this like, certain movements with it.
Yeah.
And an analog stick is fine, but I imagine a joystick just like doing a Hadouken must feel so good with that.
The D-pad
Zangief's just you have to do like 2 full rotations and he does like that big pile driver where he does like a 720 in the air.
Yeah.
Like how is that not the coolest move?
We had one in college and I did not play fighting games, like I said, hardly at all. But once we got the box, like that made it exponentially more fun. We hooked that chip right up to the PlayStation 3 and just went hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun to do it that way. And the inputs feel better. But I'll tell you this much. I got so good with the D-pad that it'd be hard for me to move into joystick.
Yeah.
Because the joystick's more intentional. Do you guys play with the D-pad or the analog stick?
Analog stick.
Analog stick.
Use the D-pad.
Yeah.
Every time.
I can absolutely understand that.
The D-pad is the best way to do it. You have quicker inputs. There's less movement of the thumb. No professional Street Fighter player would ever use the analog stick over the D-pad.
It was controversial when Evo moved away from joypads to controllers. That was a very controversial move when it happened.
It's kind of a good equalizer, too.
The new challengers, the speed from turbo was removed, and it's now tweakable to adjust the speed in the menu, but that caused this game to be their first flop of their first Street Fighter 2 version to be a flop. Dizzy,
Who was buying all of these versions?
these are arcades. These are not all individual releases, so they're just seeing quarters coming in, and some of these, they were like, they'd send kits to change your Street Fighter 2 cabinet to this, but dizzy animations of varying times were added, so you can be stunned for longer. Most graphics were redrawn or recolored. They added a tournament battle with 8-player single elimination mode, available when cabinets are connected together. Kind of cool. 4 new characters, though. We got T-Hawk, an indigenous Mexican who wants revenge on Bison. We have Cammy, a British military lady who wants revenge on Bison. DJ, a Jamaican singer who wants to gain publicity for his singing career. Which I'm like, all right, that's cool.
It's pretty good.
Why are you here? I like to make music, man. And I won't do that again. Maybe.
No, you will.
Thanks,
This is
Dylan.
a pretty solid Brad character that I'm into.
I'm making some new songs, man. This one's about taking it easy. And then they also added Fei Long, which is just Bruce Lee, pretty unapologetically.
Yeah. I've never played as Fei Long.
About half a year later, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo comes out with super combos added. You fill the super combo gauge and you use a more effective and extensive special move. Juggling and combos was added. Keep the characters bouncing around.
Can you imagine being an arcade owner and just being like, come on?
No, they were not. Come on, they're like, fuck yeah. They were making more money than they've ever made on these Street Fighter cabinets.
I guess hand over fist.
Anything to get the people more engaged.
Yeah.
I would be salivating. We'll talk some numbers soon. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, though, March 1994. They also added Akuma, which is a pretty big deal as far as... Akuma beats the shit out of Bison, a secret boss. And you play as him by entering a special cheat code. Now, they took a break from releasing Street Fighter 2 for a while. It wasn't until 2003 that Hyper Street Fighter 2 came out. Changes were minimal. 5 years later, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix.
I want to die.
So, wait, are we getting a big lull in the releases of this game because we're moving from the cabinet era to the home console era?
These are now going to be home console releases primarily. And, yep, this one, Akuma, was selectable. And our final Street Fighter 2 came out in 2017, May 26th.
Wow.
Wow. Ultra Street Fighter 2, The Final Challengers, more or less Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Evil Ken, and Violent Ryu were introduced.
Violent Ryu.
What's up with... I don't know, Evil Ken and Violent Ryu.
This is a controversial take.
Ryu, yes.
Ryu's been violent the whole time. He's been beating ass.
He's kind of a violent guy.
Since the 80s.
He's kind of really good at punching.
Yeah, that's
I think
his
that
thing.
describes violence.
My Google is trying to kill itself lately. I had an article pop up. It says, Ken Masters revealed to be a crypto bro and a bad father.
I saw that too. Well, I saw that before you even posted it on the Discord. I was like, all right, well.
I guess it makes sense.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Crypto bro and bad father.
The hard-hitting news that Google knows to give me.
I just don't. Most of those clickbaity titles are like, yeah, but not really, though. Also, we're just guessing.
Yeah.
Speculation.
Fucking love it.
Oh, my God. Those clickbaity things.
This had online
No wonder the world is the way it is.
It's only getting worse. Online multiplayer, dramatic battle mode called Buddy Battle, where two players fight a CPU together. Shin Akuma is a secret character. And on the Switch version, there's a thing called the Way of the Hado. And it's a first-person shooting gallery with Joy-Cons. Which, this sounded fucking weird for Street Fighter. They had a first-person shooting aspect in their new Street Fighter 2. And I put down $40 release, LOL.
That's stiff. That's deep.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I remember when that came out. And being like, I'd love to buy this, but no.
But absolutely not.
But no, I don't have that many people to play this with who would give a shit.
There are two portable versions. I'm probably wrong. There's probably way more than that, but there was a Game Boy version and a Game Boy Advance version. Ugh. Hey, everybody, and we're back. Let's talk sales numbers. First, Dylan, you were right. There are 8 versions of Street Fighter 2.
I cannot believe I knew that off the top of my head.
Well, actually, there's 8 revisions, so 9 versions altogether. So you're both
Tyler
right.
was right.
We'll give you both, the points here.
Dual credit.
High five.
Insane numbers. It became the best-selling game since the golden age of arcade video games. More than 200,000 cabinets and 15 million software units sold of the versions of Street Fighter 2. Third best-selling arcade game of all time, behind Space Invaders and Pac-Man.
Yeah, wow, shit.
Like, all time. Even up to today. That is interesting. I did not know it was...
In Japan, Street Fighter is much more of a thing.
Okay.
That's something I have to say.
It was huge in America at the time.
It was huge, but... The arcades in Japan are just insane. I wish I could have visited Japan in the heyday of them, because it would just be like 5 Street Fighter machines on one side, 5 on the other, and then you would just have to like challenge the person across from you in the machine. You would never see their face, but you would face them.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
And then you'd go over there and you're like ready to talk shit and it's a 4-year-old. So, good game.
Would they do it like we did badminton in gym class, where if you win, you went up a court. If you lost, you went down a court?
I like that.
So if you win, you move to the left. If you lose, you move to your right.
I'm not sure what the etiquette was.
That would be wild because then once you get to the top cabinet, like you never know who you're fighting, but it will be a revolving door of the same like 5 to 10 people.
That'd be interesting.
It is
I think if you lost, you had to give up your space, but if you kept winning, you would get to stay there.
Imagine being in an arcade and you are doing good. You're gonna fucking get to Bison the first time, and some kid comes up, puts in a quarter, and challenges you in like the instant 2-player battle, and you just get smoked. And that could happen.
Yeah.
Because anyone could just come up and put a quarter, and you're like, "Fuck, man, I was."
You know what you do then? You street fight that kid in real life. You meet him outside.
And then his older brother with a leather jacket walks in.
Yeah, pulls up in a Trans Am.
Violent Tyler over here.
Evil Dylan. That's just Dylan.
Hee hee.
It would be like Happy Dylan, or not Happy. Good Dylan.
Good Dylan. Holy Dylan.
Holy Dylan.
Holy Dylan.
Holy
and
Dylan
Demon
is
Dylan.
the evil version of you.
And I'm just wearing a priest outfit.
It is the second best-selling fighting game in software sales, behind Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Otherwise, it's the second best of all time. 15.5 million units sold to Super Smash's 30.44 million.
Damn.
Smash Ultimate is a big deal. It's the fourth.
Let's Sakurai make a different game.
This is the fourth highest grossing video game of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time.
All time. With $10.857 billion.
Well, when you make 3 billion versions of it, of
Yeah.
course, you don't even know. One of the things I've never liked about Capcom in this era is they were so anti-consumer. Like nobody in the current world is going to look at Street Fighter 2 and know which version does what and how it works. There's no handy-dandy guide to this.
It was interesting to learn the revisions.
Yeah.
I understand there's a good ROM hack with it faster and people are liking it more. That, to me, it's smart. Like, yeah, put a new one out.
Fair.
And I'll concede. You can make one more with 4 more characters if you want. I will concede that one. The other 6,
Yeah.
you can just release the same game and just add online multiplayer when it's on the Xbox Live.
It's just such diminishing returns. At what point do you just make the sequel?
It's got a first-person shooting gallery, Dylan.
Yeah, and
That's $40.
That's my favorite thing to do in a fighting game. But
That's the only reason that we all play Street Fighter 2 on the Switch is for the shooting gallery.
yeah, it's
I'm
true.
going to go home and buy it
For $40.
for $40.
Yeah, wow. That's bold, money bags.
I'm not going to do it.
Yes, it is behind Space Invaders, Pac-Man, and the number 1 highest grossing game of all time is Dungeon Fighter Online, which is just weird.
What? That's no way.
It's one of those Chinese games that like Tencent or something like that, some
Oh my
massively like popular mobile game that is just
Is that just what they rebranded Raid Shadow
Shadow
Legends?
probably, but crushing. GTA 5, for reference, only has $7.5 billion. So I was surprised to hear Street Fighter 2 was that big of a deal for arcades.
Wow, yeah. I would have never have guessed that.
The quarters that they pulled in must have been.
Yeah, it's not like a single sale for a game. It is people going back to those arcades every week to prove that they're still the king.
You got to wonder what those actual numbers added up to, because a lot of businesses could keep that secret after they had the game, because the quarter revenue would be how they made their money. So obviously they don't have to disclose it.
Yeah,
you got to
how that
wonder.
works.
You got to wonder how many quarters were put into Street Fighter machines.
Let's just say a lot of parents' quarter drawers were getting siphoned off of. Yeah.
Well, deservedly so. They had too many of them.
Too many quarters, those parents. We're going to take a brief segue here into some animated and live action stuff. Street Fighter, December 23rd. Wait, no. Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, was the first one. August 6th, 1994.
Wait, the movie is called Street Fighter 2. It's called Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
They made a movie. There's not another movie. There's not a movie before this one.
This is the
it's just
first
called
one.
Street Fighter 2.
And they're going to call it Street Fighter 2.
Most
based
people,
off the plot of Street Fighter 2.
They do
most
not,
people don't remember Street Fighter 1. It wasn't as big of a deal.
It's not a very good game.
But
Have
to
you
name-
played it? It's not that good.
But to name the movie Street Fighter 2,
yeah,
it's just the naming-
name brand recognition.
But the
It's
naming
most popular
convention.
game
you want to
in the
hear
world.
you want to hear stupid naming conventions. We're going to get there.
it just bothers me.
It doesn't. It shouldn't bother you. It's literally the plot of Street Fighter 2, or what they thought it was, because I've seen that movie. Have you
No.
seen it, Brad?
Maybe back in the day.
It's okay.
It's supposed to be good from what I heard. It was a commercial and critical success.
It's not bad. It's fun.
And after that, they made Street Fighter 1994, December 23rd. It came out, a little Christmas present for you. Live action film, also known as Street Fighter: The Battle for Shadaloo.
Yeah.
Directed and written by Stephen E. D'Souza. He was the writer for Running Man, Die Hard, Hudson Hawk, Flintstones, Judge Dredd, and Tomb Raider 2. Well-known writer.
The Cradle of Life?
The Cradle of Life.
Whoa.
He's a decent writer.
Sure.
He's written some good movies, and
Hudson
then
Hawk is great.
And then he directed Street Fighter, his directing debut, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Raul Julia, and Ming-Na Wen. So a budget of $35 million. Jean-Claude Van Damme took $8 million of the budget.
Sweet. Damn.
Box office of $99 million. So
That's not
That's a
bad.
W.
it's a big W. And Capcom financed most of the film. That's another episode. If you want to go check out the Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat debate we had back in the Dogcast in the day.
Yeah. That was interesting. Mortal Kombat ended up winning because I couldn't bring enough
It sucked.
love to.
I was dictated to be on the Mortal Kombat side because you were just told like what side you're debating for. And I'm like, but Street Fighter's the better fucking movie.
It is a better movie.
I hated it. I had to pretend I liked Mortal Kombat more.
You did a good job in the debate.
Yeah. Raul Julia, there's a lot of cool things to talk about that movie, but that's another time. So then they made Street Fighter the movie, the game. That's a good naming convention.
That's a great naming.
They made
The movie, the game, the action figure.
like Super Mario Brothers, the movie, the game.
Are you not confused yet?
June 1995. This is an arcade cabinet, and it was in the style of Mortal Kombat with live action actors from the movie doing their moves. They also added Akuma, a character named Blade, Sawada, and 3 palette swaps of Blade. Filming for the game was supposed to take 2 weeks, but the actors demanded royalties, and they pushed the shooting several weeks longer. They probably thought it was going to be a big deal. And this is the first game where Akuma was playable from the start. It came to Sega Saturn and PS1, and it was separately produced than the arcade game for some reason. But still garbage. They used the same digitized images, but they used different moves. It was a launch title for the PlayStation 1, interestingly enough. And it was the first Street Fighter to feature a story mode. Whatever. Street Fighter 2 V is another animated series. Came out April 10th, 1995. 29 episodes, and there was an English adaptation in 96. Then there was another Street Fighter TV series. This was the US-made one,
Oh my god.
which we saw. We saw some of this, I'm sure. I saw this.
I saw it. Yeah. I recall it. Mortal Kombat also had one too for a little while.
The animated Mortal Kombat, yeah.
Yeah.
Not violent enough, but...
No, it was a little too lighthearted.
In the U.S. series, Colonel William Guile is the leader of the Street Fighters, an international undercover peacekeeping force, which just kind of sounds like the plot of Team America. It aired on USA Network's Cartoon Express. Then there was a break in Street Fighter. A lot of other fighting games were coming out. We had Darkstalkers, X-Men, and
King of Fighters, I think, was coming out around this time, the first ones.
a lot of them.
Tekken, I think. This is the rise of Tekken. SNK, yeah.
Street Fighter, though, would come back in 3 different ways. First is Street Fighter Alpha, Warrior's Dreams, because you need that subtitle. Mm-hmm. What's cool, you know? Like, what are they dreaming about?
These characters, they have hopes and fears.
Ambitions.
Believe me. Yeah. I mean, like it's not text, it's subtext because we told you.
We got another beer here. Would one of you want to tell us what beer we're drinking?
We are drinking the West Coast style India Pale Ale from Black Stack Brewing. No, Eagle Park Brewing Company.
Yeah, collaboration.
Oh, it's a collaboration with Black Stack. It looks nice. We've got a very trippy bear with the toad eyes of a hallucinatory toad.
Yeah, it's giving me Hypno Toad.
Those are the toad eyes. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
This sounds like it's going to be good.
Sounds like another IPA.
I do like...
I like West Coast.
Yeah, West Coast over
West
hazy.
Coast. Yeah, I'll take West Coast over hazy.
So Street Fighter Alpha, also known as Street Fighter Zero, came out June 5th, 1995. It takes place after Street Fighter 1, though, so it'd be 1.5 if anything. Street Fighter 3 was intended for their new arcade boards, which weren't ready yet. So this game was given to Hideaki Itsuno and a younger team to deliver a fresh take. And so these were on the original arcade boards because they're waiting for the new ones for the next game. They also had to sell out of old arcade boards. Dylan's not loving this West Coast.
This is not good.
Yeah, I'm in the same
A
boat.
little skunky.
Yeah.
Something's up. Something happened in the canning process.
Something's up here.
It's not rotten, but I immediately noticed with the smell, there's something...
It's dank and skunky. This might be what they were going for.
Are they going for... Is there like, what is it, tarpine or whatever in it that make it smell like weed?
It doesn't smell
This
like
brewery
weed,
guy over here talking about tarpine.
Well, they just did it at Venture. They made one called Baked Juice, and it's
I'm
delicious.
impressed.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
You know your shit.
It might be a hobby of mine coming up soon.
You might just be brewing soon.
Yeah, I might be brewing in a week or two.
Really? Mm-hmm. Nice.
I want to do a sour beer, but we'll talk about that later.
Something interesting about Alpha, Bison isn't the final boss for everybody. About half the characters, but a lot of the characters have a different final boss depending on what their motivations are as a character.
Oh, nice.
Their dreams.
Their dreams, warriors' dreams. Their warrior dream.
Their warrior dreams.
So noble.
There was a popular spoof character, Dan, which Dan Hibuki was made to make fun of SNK. He's a weaker character. You can get challenged by him if you do certain conditions in the game. It's the second highest grossing arcade game of 1995, below Virtua Fighter 2. They were given 3 months to complete the game from scratch. They did it in 6 months. That's a lot. They expanded a super combo system with a 3-level super combo gauge. A lot of these things are words that I wrote down and I comprehend some of. They started adding...
I think you can be given a lot of leeway on this, considering that, like, how are you supposed to keep up?
If it's the top 10% of Street Fighter characters, they're going to be like, no, wrong.
So?
I don't care. I'm just like...
Bite it.
No, there is a depth to these games that we will not be able to understand. And cover.
No, because it takes way too much dedication and actual, like, inherent knowledge that you just can't gain. We could, but we can't devote our lives to it.
We'd have to quit our jobs.
It's fine.
We'd have to get into cocaine.
Wait, what?
Well, if we're going to play
We'd
enough,
have to get into cocaine.
we have to.
No,
We'd have to.
It's way too expensive. And if you're looking to stay up, just like
Surge.
no crystal meth.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jolt energy drink.
yeah. Mix that with a nice surge or something.
I can't do it. My heart medication.
Then you're not cut out for the Street Fighter life, dude.
Oh man,
I don't know
I
what
guess
to tell
I'm
you.
not. Oh,
what they did add was a super combo gauge. So at the bottom of your little character thing, you have little like bars that fill up, and performing regular attacks and special techniques will fill it up. And once one is filled up, you can do a super combo, and you can also use those to do alpha counters, which you counterattack with a special counterattacking technique. It's a much more defensive game, Street Fighter Alpha. And 2 playing styles, you have normal or auto. Auto just auto guards against some attacks. It sounds cheap.
It sounds enticing to me if I'm a child, but it would make me feel like a failure as an adult.
Yeah, it's like switching over to easy mode in a game, and you don't tell your friends about it.
No.
sometimes you have to. It's happened.
Sometimes you got to do it for the experience. Mm-hmm. And then you go back and you show that game who's boss, but we don't talk about it.
God of War Ragnarok, I cheesed one of the bosses. Where they didn't attack, I got him in a stunned animation, and I just threw spears at them from far away.
I mean, I wouldn't have told anybody that, but...
On the episode, I didn't tell him that. I'm telling you now. If you're still listening, I lied.
There's a fight in Jedi Survivor that I was just like, this is insane. There's something wrong with this fight. It's not balanced at all. It's a huge difficulty spike to a degree that like doesn't make any sense. And I was just like, I'm not going to bash my head against this. I have a life to live. I'm putting this down to easy for this one fight. It was fine. But put it right back up.
Sometimes when I do it, I make it part of the narrative in my head where I'm like, I'm a fucking Jedi.
Yeah.
I should be able to just whoop ass.
Yeah.
So I did.
It's like if you're Neo in the Matrix, there should not be any more challenges to you.
No.
Yeah, no.
I don't judge people playing on easy modes.
No, I think as long as you're having fun, that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's all that's important.
Also as important is
Unless
air
you're playing
blocking.
a Souls game.
They added air blocking, guarding in midair, chain combos, which were performed by interrupting the animation of one basic move by performing another of equal or greater strength. And you can roll on the ground after falling after an attack.
Okay.
And it's the first Street Fighter to have a training mode.
Important.
Yes. New characters. We have Charlie Nash, Dan Hibiki, Guy, which is, they've started bringing in more Final Fight characters, Guy and Sodom.
Nice.
Sodom is, he's in my top tier Street Fighter characters. He is an American who is obsessed with Japanese culture and doesn't understand it. He dresses like a Denver Bronco with a samurai helmet. And he has like some kanji lettering on the front, and it doesn't mean anything.
Wow.
I love Sodom.
You know what? This would have been around the time that weeaboos started existing.
What is a weeaboo?
You don't know what a weeaboo is? No. Are you actually serious?
I don't know what a weeaboo is.
A weeaboo is...
I know what a waifu is.
A weeaboo is usually a Westerner, usually English speaking, who is so obsessed with Japanese culture, but only the Japanese culture they've seen through anime and representation of anime, so they don't actually know what the actual culture is. So they kind of become overly obsessed, far too hyperfixated, and they're like the insufferable anime fans or manga fans you've met in your life, where they just can't stop talking about it. Like they can't have a normal human conversation.
Okay.
Their personality is the anime that they watch.
And they talk like they're in an anime, which is bizarre.
Sometimes, or they try to incorporate like Japanese words into their own, but only shit they've seen from anime. They're not actually learning the language.
Yeah, we had a weeb in high school.
Yeah.
And you know, on TikTok now, there's like the trend where people will act like they're in an anime, and some of them are actually really talented at doing like the weird
fun and
cut.
funny.
Yeah, the weird cut movements and like they'll use the same hand gesture over and over, like they're in a loading screen or something.
Right.
This kid would do that back. This is 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and it was the most bizarre shit ever. He'd be like, "Are you going to chemistry class?" And I'm like, "What are you gyrating for?" Yeah, I sit next to you, dude.
Really?
Dude, I'm telling you, it was before the era of TikTok.
He was ahead of his
nailed it.
time.
Listen,
Today he'd be a millionaire.
I was on the
Yeah.
I was on the edge of being one, and then I was like, nah, I get my ass kicked too much.
You became a bouncer instead.
Eventually,
Yeah.
the bouncer, famous. They made a game
You
about
wore
me.
you wore one long-legged pant and one short on the other side.
It's for aerodynamics.
My Sora wig looked great.
I wouldn't mess with you.
Yeah, they made a game about me.
I would
Have
try
you ever
not-
played the bouncer?
I would try not to talk to you if you were dressed like that. Here's my ID, and then I'd be like, bye.
I'm secretly not a balding man.
You just have chains attached to like other things for no reason, just chains everywhere.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what a weeaboo is. So if someone says weeaboo, it's a derogatory term for someone who just loves this shit.
I have
too
not
much.
heard that term in a long time.
You know, listen. I'm a huge anime and manga fan, and I think loving it and being interested is great.
I think it's great to have hobbies.
I think it's great to
Yeah.
have hobbies. It keeps you from shooting up schools, but like for a lot of people,
Generally.
not me. I wouldn't
What,
anyway.
what if your hobby is guns? I mean,
Then we call that a problem.
Yeah, unless you're just having fun sharpshooting and not hurting people. Shoot a can, shoot a deer.
pass.
Yeah, whatever.
Hunting is great.
Pass.
Pass.
Yeah, you never skinned a deer, Bradley?
I've seen it. I've shot many deers. My dad did the hard stuff. And I was like, Wow, this
And
is
then
gross.
you got to get that venison jerky.
This jerky's the shit, though.
I want to make venison jerky.
Street Fighter Alpha, people did not love the game. They found it janky, not as balanced or deep as Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter Alpha 2 came out in 1996. Released February 27th in Japan. A week later in the US, it came to PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and Super Nintendo. It was a remake / sequel of Street Fighter Alpha. They got away from their naming conventions, though, of Street Fighter Alpha World Warrior Dreams - Turbo X Edition. It's just Street Fighter Alpha 2, they called it, but it is essentially the same game. The team went to Akira Yasuda, the person who created all the original characters for Street Fighter 2. And they said, can you please make this game better? We need cool people that isn't Sodom.
Yeah.
Please. And he even says, like, well, most of these characters look pretty fucking lame. But he developed a new character, Sakura. And
Love Sakura.
They love her. She's one of, like, the big names in Street Fighter now.
It turned on, it made many a young man blossom.
A badass, like, fighting high school girl.
Yeah.
And they didn't make her girly. They made her just a warrior, and they didn't, like, dress her crazy, provocative. Just like a schoolgirl outfit.
Kinda
It
short
turns
hair.
out is provocative. If you haven't seen Baby One More Time, it's a provocative outfit.
Well, especially the Japanese school uniforms.
Yeah. Any school uniforms. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't say I don't like it.
That 70s show, when Donna goes to private school, she has to wear the outfit.
yeah.
They all freak out in the basement.
Yep.
It is a tale as old as time.
I haven't really seen a lot of 70s show.
Really? That's the.
I'm sure it's a bigger deal here in Wisconsin than where I grew up.
I watched.
Being a Wisconsin show.
I got to the point
it's
where I
still
was.
pretty huge.
Oh, it's big.
It's big, but
everywhere.
If like I grew up in Milwaukee or in Wisconsin, I'm sure it'd just be even bigger.
Oh yeah, that's right. You didn't.
It
grow
does
up
take
here.
place basically in Port Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point Pleasant is Port Washington, by my understanding.
That's just kind of what I settled on when I was looking at a map and they talk about going to Kenosha.
Yeah.
I was younger and I was like, oh, they got to mean it's got to be like here.
It's got to be Port Washington. Yeah.
Alpha 2 added a custom combo system, replaced chain combos, and you could activate a custom combo by hitting two punch buttons or kick buttons simultaneously, and then you perform a series of attacks to create a custom combo. Each character has a secret rival in their single player mode. You can meet if you can fight if you meet certain requirements, and then regular characters Akuma and Bison and Dan were all integrated, and other new characters. Dalsim returned. Gen was brought back from Street Fighter 1. They went back to the roots. Rolento, Sakura Kasugano, we mentioned her, and Zangief returned to everyone's great happiness. And non-playable new characters, Shin Akuma, gotta love it. Evil Ryu, gotta love it. Home versions changed up, like Shin Akuma was a playable character. There's a survival mode in the Sega Saturn. Doesn't fucking matter. Street Fighter 02 Alpha. They did make another version of Alpha 2. Dylan, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this stuff.
This
I can't do it.
this is becoming insane to me. My brain right now is butter. I am not drunk. I am sitting here listening to a bunch of words being strung together, and it's all kind of the same words.
Dude, you're gonna hate the lore episode.
I see now the lore I can get into because I know a lot about it. But
Shadaloo.
we love Shadaloo here.
Street Fighter 02 Alpha. It adds.
I have not drank enough for this.
It adds EX versions of Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Sagat, and M. Bison. Custom combos now require 1.5 gauges.
Whoa, what?
Whoa.
Evil Ryu.
What?
Evil Ryu has different dialogue and an ending.
Now you're saying Ryu again. You're saying Ryu.
Ryu. He has more dialogue and
Yeah.
a different ending.
Oh, great.
And the home console version featured Cammy selectable only in versus and training modes.
This feels like when I listen to like a 3-year-old explain Paw Patrol to me. I'm just like, yeah, and they have a super team now. Oh, great.
You're like, cool, Brad. Sounds good.
It's like, wow, yes. Barky the Dalmatian is good at fighting fires.
And you like it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Around this time, the Evolution Championship Series was created. EVO, founded by Tom Cannon. This tournament started as Battle by the Bay, a 40-man Super Street Fighter II Turbo and Street Fighter Alpha 2 tournament in Sunnyvale, California. It changed its name to EVO officially in 2002. Most recently, EVO 2022 had prize money of $100,000.
Jesus, wow. Back then?
That was 2022.
Oh, never mind.
$100,000 for being good at Street Fighter?
To be the best. Not being good.
The best.
If you were good, you wouldn't get in. If you were the best, you might get in.
That's 2 years' wages for me, baby.
But also, what do you have to give up to be the best at Street Fighter 2 Turbo?
Well, I'd probably have to give up my wife, my job.
No.
Yeah.
Spare time. Happiness.
Also, I'm past the prime where I could become a professional video game player. You start to lose. You'll start to see it.
Don't say that. Don't say that. No.
You're 30 years old now. It's going to happen. Your reflexes are going to go all the way down.
I will say,
sharp as a knife.
I was the most hungover, worst human being ever yesterday. I beat all of Celeste's B-sides and C-sides in like 4 hours.
You've also played through it quite a bit.
It was some strange level of Zen. I've never been that good. C-side level 7 is the toughest level in the game, and I did it in like 20 minutes. I was so hungover, I was better at it, I think, which is a weird level to get to.
Like when I play Halo drunk, I'm a little better.
Yeah, you're a little looser, you know?
Yeah.
It's like when I dance when I'm drunk. There's a lot more happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot more freedom.
Yeah.
A lot more belief in myself.
And a lot more
I
sweat.
I can do this.
Oh, so much more.
I'm just shaking my shoulders.
Is Tyler on ecstasy? No, he just had 47 high lives.
Ooh, Tyler's got the motion. Go, Tyler. Go, Tyler. Go, Tyler.
And then it's cut to like the sober reality when it's just Mac with his shirt ripped open, like screaming.
That's exactly what it's probably
People don't
like.
dance anymore. We were Tom was on his second song last night, and Marin and David were there. Marin looks over and she's like, "He really moves a lot."
Yeah. Well, Tom stays fit, man.
You don't be 45 and look like that unless you're doing something right.
Well, his only vice truly is a beer every once in a while and Diet Mountain Dew.
Street Fighter EX comes out in 1996. This is the 3D Street Fighter.
Yuck.
This people like this game though. It does have a following. It was released November 30th, 1996, developed by Arika, the company started by Akira Nishitani after he left back in the day to make his own company. He created the original Street Fighter and 2.5D and the first Street Fighter with 3D graphics. And yes, non-canon. The gameplay, though, fighting styles are similar to Street Fighter 2 and Alpha. The linear plane often changes along a 3D battle background. You can guard break, a move that can break an opponent's block. Cool. It has a lot of returning characters. They also have their own characters that are never featured again outside of the EX series. There's 3 EX games. There's one character that I was really into, Skullomania.
Yeah, Skullomania is cool.
Yeah.
He's a third-rate businessman who takes up a superhero identity by donning a full-body skeleton suit.
Yeah.
The lore is really fun, and we'll talk about that in the lore episode.
That just sounds like a guy having a good time.
He has his own rival, too, who is actually another superhero, but he gets confused and thinks it's his villain. But we'll save that for the lore episode.
I like that.
And he's a rich businessman?
He's a third-rate businessman.
Oh, so he's like...
He's a salary.
You know when you were forced to dress up in the the McDonald's outfits?
Yeah, the Hamburglar.
Yep. It's like if you
You were the Hamburglar?
Yeah, and
Are there
Grimace.
pictures?
He got punched in the nuts.
My mom-
The story we told on the...
I know, but I thought you were like Grimace.
There's no photos of me of Grimace, but there is 2 photos of me as the Hamburglar.
Bring him in.
Bring him in.
We're
My
gonna put it right on the
If
wall.
I
my
will
mom
frame
has,
it.
If
We will
my mom
frame it.
has it, is the only place that it
Dude,
could possibly
that's awesome.
You need to talk to her.
Tyler, we need this.
But
be. I would actually like to see it because it's been a long time.
what happened with
Tyler, it is my birthday next Friday,
If I can find it, I'll bring
and
it up.
I need it.
He needs it, Tyler.
Tyler, this is important.
This is what
I
we're
don't
gonna-
have a lot going on.
You're gonna get a wrapped present, and it's 2 frame pictures. One of him as the Hamburglar, and one of Tom riding a motorcycle.
Oh, that would be just the bee's knees.
Man.
When he looks good back in the day.
Ooh. Hot stuff.
But Skullomania, imagine you were a manager of McDonald's and you were doing so bad they made you dress up as the Hamburglar, and then Skullomania had to do this, and then he felt a certain sense of justice and how he wanted to save the world while he was dressed as the Hamburglar, so he became the Hamburglar. That's who Skullomania is.
That's just getting lost in the character, dog.
That's
His
awesome.
name is Skullomania.
What's the coolest thing you did as the Hamburglar? Did you have like a cool move? Like, you appeared out of nowhere? Like, I'm the Hamburglar.
When you got punched in the nuts, did you do anything fun?
I managed to not make a sound and and limp my way back to the break room. And no, I had no cool moves because you know what sucks?
I'll be back.
No, you know what sucks is no 16-year-old kid wants to work at McDonald's, and no fucking 16-year-old kid wants to work at McDonald's and be the Hamburglar.
But
So
some 16-year-old kids would want to dress up as the Hamburglar. I'd be pumped to dress up as the Hamburglar for a little while.
You know, I
looked-
was the pig once at Piggly Wiggly.
that would have been cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
I was the pig. Dude, that guy's got like some. Have you seen some of the ads recently? He kind of is like trying to be sexy. It's really weird. He's kind of trying to be sexy. Like he's got like bedroom eyes. I'm like, what happened?
A little bit of wine. I don't know.
It's all those deals.
Started listening to Harry Styles.
What is that one? The watermelon. Some watermelon kisses.
Watermelon sugar high.
Oh God.
My knowledge of pop culture sometimes
It's so
astounds
good.
me that I don't know how I knew that.
So good.
There's not a lot of story to Street Fighter X. Hokuto is like the new cool like mainish character. She's looking for her brother or some shit.
Wow.
The new bad guy is Garuda. He's a demonic being clad in samurai armor. And there was another version of Street Fighter EX called Street Fighter EX Plus. Hidden characters are available by default, including Evil Ryu, Bloody Hokuto. She's just the bloody version. And they had 2 cyborgs, Beta and Gamma. And there was another version of EX called EX Plus Alpha. Came out July 1997. New characters of Dulcim and Sakura. CG animated endings for all characters were added as well.
Whoa. CG animated? Must have looked awful.
Probably.
Yeah.
We could imagine. We're going to not talk about Street Fighter 3, 4, 5, and 6, and EX2, and EX3, and Alpha 3, Third Strike, until the next episode. We're going to save that for our next episode of the Street Fighter series retrospective. Did y'all have any closing thoughts that you wanted to mention on what we've talked about today?
God, towards the end there, I was just like I almost wanted the podcast to be about Tyler in a Hamburglar outfit because it's a more entertaining thought.
I agree.
I agree.
I think that these games, playing them, it was refreshing. I don't play many games like this very often. So playing an older game was cool.
Yeah.
It was refreshing, and they're a lot of fun. They're a lot more fun to play than to talk about.
I think it's all these versions.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it too because like it just drives me insane, which sometimes I need. Like but
I like
these
that.
iterations. like the building upon, and then like the constant like releases and stuff, how would you actually be in the know if your local place was changing their Street Fighter machine to a newer Street Fighter machine and would just say it?
They were different. The top of those arcade cabinets, they would have like, it would say it up there.
Little marquees, yeah.
And I guess a lot of it would just be word of mouth.
I question. I don't know. Like this is the era where you could just kind of pump out the same thing and people would just kind of eat it up. I mean, like look at like X-Men comics at the time. It's all the same crap.
It is the it's what we have today with season pass models and DLC. Mm-hmm. And all it is they were just fully re-releasing it with like, instead of season 1 DLC, it's like, here's the 4 new characters, but you buy the game again.
Yeah, that's true.
And
this is what counted as live service back in the day.
Things would get like, the characters are tweaked. They're more balanced. It's a new version of the game.
Yeah.
Plus you can play as Cammy, $40. And people did, and they went for it. We have some message from our Discord. Ryan says, grew up playing Street Fighter 2 at a local washateria. I don't think I really had a main, as I would try out every
washateria?
He said washateria. I don't know what that means.
Did he misspell cafeteria?
He know what he wrote. That's what he wrote. And it didn't. It's not getting spell checked.
It's a Texas thing, I bet.
I'm looking it up.
Thank you.
I do think I gave more favoritism to Ryu and Guile, though. I just remember I remember Vega being impossible to beat. And watching the Street Fighter 2V and Street Fighter Alpha anime is what really got me into the whole lore and story of Street Fighter. I'm pretty sure I could have just bought the VHS with the amount of time that I rented them. And
is it spelled Wash Eteria?
Washateria.
Dictionary says another term for a laundromat.
It's a laundromat.
Which makes sense because
I want to get some food there to Washateria, I would think.
I don't know why you would call it that. That is a much cooler
That's a good
name.
bar name.
They call ATMs time machines here in Milwaukee. Like, not everyone's got weird things.
Oh, I want to open up a bar and call it the Laundromat.
Oh, go to the laundromat, honey.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, bars that are named something that you would say in a sentence, like I'm going to the spot.
The office, the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or when you go to certain bars and they have like drink specials, which are like they're modeled to look like things in a receipt that wouldn't be suspicious for if you're a business person that has to like file them. Like this is the appetizer special, and it's just like a shot of whiskey. But on the receipt, it looks like you weren't getting alcohol.
Yeah, it looks like you bought a pack of Ticonderoga No. 2 pencils.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's not bad. It's better than Promises.
Phil mentioned...
That sounds like a weight loss place.
It really does. For $39.95, you can get 4 VHS tapes.
Promises. You made promises to yourself. Now see if you can fulfill them.
You are right, though. Promises is a terrible name for an establishment.
They're doing fine.
I've been there several times.
It's a decent bar full of way too many youngins for my choice, but...
It is a young crowd.
It is hipster.
Yeah.
Phil mentioned his favorite memory of Street Fighter 2 is being featured on an episode of Baywatch. I'm going to have you read. I asked him then, can you please describe the episode? And
when asked to describe the episode, he says, okay, I'll go purely off what must be a 25 to 30-year-old memory. Feel free to fact check.
Nope.
We won't.
This is all fact.
Hobie, Mitch's son, Mitch equals David Hasselhoff, sees kids playing in Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet, but it's in a rough part of town. Mitch warns Hobie, I hope I'm saying that right, bud, not to go there, but who can resist the pull of Street Fighter? Some stuff does go down that isn't good. Then by the end of the episode, everything is okay, and Hobie learns a lesson about listening to his father. And some women in bathing suits ran in slow motion on the beach. It was during or shortly after the initial Street Fighter 2 craze. I remember thinking it was super cool to see a real game played in a TV show, not a generic cabinet or console with fake bleep and bloop sound effects. That's interesting.
Well, I'm happy that David Hasselhoff's kid was safe.
Is his name Hobie?
Yeah, Hobie.
Hobie.
So in Baywatch,
David Hasselhoff's son is named Hobie.
Yeah.
That's a real name.
And there's a Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet in the rough part of town.
And the fact that he remembers David Hasselhoff's son's name in the show means that he was a huge fan.
I wonder if The Rock had a kid named Hobie in the reboot. Yeah. Probably not, because being a dad wasn't sexy at the time.
He doesn't really have kids in his movies.
Nope.
It's the episode Peer Pressure. Ooh, found it. But it's peer, like a peer that you would see near water, like PIER, instead of peer, like your buddies. And I think I found
Peak
an
television.
image. Bada boom.
Look at Toby.
That doesn't look like a bad part of town.
I mean,
if you have an arcade, it's really not a bad part of town.
it looks like a nice part of town.
Yeah.
There's adults there. Everyone looks happy.
Yeah.
Ghostbuster Josh says...
Those kids probably smoke, though.
Oh.
The devil's lettuce?
Probably
Even
lot.
probably marijuana.
Oh, no. Lost souls.
Jazz cigarettes.
Jazz cigarettes. They make me feel funny.
Oh.
Josh says he played Street Fighter 2 Turbo, then Super Street Fighter 2. Basically just 4 new characters. He also enjoyed the alpha games after that. Vega was harder than Bison for me. Sagat could be a real bitch too. On the next episode of Hair the Dogcast, the Elden Dogs will be going to the Eternal Cities. We might be having a special guest. I need to reach out for that. And then following that, the Dogcast goes to Summer Games Done Quick. I don't know what else will be happening, but that will be part of it. And Hair the Dogcast exists because of people like you. So thank you for listening. If you have a chance, if you've got this far, we're doing something right, or you're spite listening. Either way, you should leave a review about it. And
Give me 5 stars and tell me I'm bad.
who's bad boy?
Me. Who's a bad boy?
And
I'm the little burglar.
Write a review. Write a review if you can. Leave a like, and if you wanted to get access to part 2 right away, as well as the lower episode, they might both be locked behind Patreon for a little bit. If you wanted access to those, check out patreon.com/hairofthedogcast. We have a great community on Discord, a lot of really great people, and the Hamburglar picture of Tyler, if it exists, will be available for Patreon members only.
It was taken on a Razr cell phone, and my mom has it on a computer, I'm pretty sure.
A Razr cell phone.
Yeah, it was on my cell phone at the time.
Okay,
We should add a Patreon tier. If you pay a stupid amount of money, I'll show up as Grimace to your birthday.
I agree.
I love that.
Yeah, but it's got to be.
Where do we find it?
Make it worth my time.
Where do we find a Grimace costume not covered in cum, though?
I gotta. Never said it didn't have to be, because I know a guy.
He'll wear the suit.
I mean, like, I don't know. I'm just trying to. I'm thinking of your health.
I think I'm gonna try and get it dry cleaned, because you can't throw that thing in the wash; it'll tear it up.
Yeah, you're gonna have to bring that to a washateria.
Special thanks to executive producers Ryan Christianek, Kip Kipper, Brian Ward, Jordan Hoff, and Phil Wright. We are a proud member of the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network. Check out all the other amazing shows. And this has been part 1 of the Street Fighter series. Study retrospective, and can we do another one? We'll try. We'll do it.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
Oh, I did notice something cool about Street Fighter. I was going to say real quick.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of. I'm not a super big fan anymore, but I do like Logic, the rapper. Sure. And he put out an album called No Pressure, and he has a very short little freestyle in the middle of the album called, I think it's called Perfect. And when you beat somebody without taking any damage in Street Fighter, you know the dude that goes perfect. That was the sample, and it clicked for me because I haven't played Street Fighter in years.
Nice.
Street Fighter does wind up leaning into the rap community.
Yeah, it's huge. It's like it's Dragon Ball Z levels.
And it makes sense.
I just wanted to point that out because I was super pumped when I found that out. I was like, hey, I learned where the sample came from.
Nicki Minaj has a song called Chun-Li.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And for the full review of the Street Fighter swimsuit book,
Nice.
check out Patreon. That probably won't happen, but if we get enough new members, we will. Here, Chun-Li is wearing a thong, and here another character is wearing a thong. This is the horniest book ever made.
Yes.
There's no E. Honda wearing a thong.
No.
Give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want here, folks.
He kind of already does.
I know. Sweet cheeks.
So,
So weak cheeks.
just a big towel.
See you next week.